So who can tell me what's wrong with this picture? As you can see, I haven't showered and the missing tie doesn't count. Welcome to the Robot Repair Bay. Hey, you know, it's been a few weeks since I posted a video, and I've been a little under the weather for the past week or two, and I've been just laying around thinking about something that's been kind of bothering me, but also exciting me. And what you see in front of you here is definitely not what I had planned, but I think I'm going to head this direction to kind of ease me back into the customizing realm. My hope is that I will start the Toyworld Constructor. Is that what the name is? I don't remember. I will be starting that at some point, but first we're going to go through this. So the question I asked before the title card was, what is wrong with this picture? And as you can see, you have here the animated Dinobots, but there's missing team members. They never came out with any. And it's been bothering me for a very long time, and I think I can do something different, and I can do something to make me happy. And so I'm going to try to do my own take on the animated Dinobots. And specifically, we want to add the true Snarl, not the Slag stand-in, named Snarl officially, but we're going to add a Snarl, and we're also going to add a Sludge. And I've got a lot of ideas. I've been thinking about this for 2 straight weeks now, and I've made some preparations. So I don't want to bore you any further. I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to try and bring you along on this journey. And so I'm going to start recording the customization sessions. All right, so first off, what we're going to do is we're going to put the 2 characters that don't need any work away, because I thought that Hasbro did a fantastic job with these, Grimlock and Swoop. And specifically, the animated line is spectacular in my opinion. I think it's amazing what they were able to pull off to match the animation model with toys and be accurate to both robot and beast mode, or car mode, or whatever it was, or vehicle mode, or whatever it was. But anyway, we're going to put these away because we don't need these. What we do need, though, is we need Snarl or Slag here. And before we create any new characters, what we're going to do is we're actually going to correct this one first. And specifically, we have to discuss the whole mess that is right here. This mess of a head that's sticking out of the chest just looks weird. The tail is not Slag. Okay, this is more of a Snarl look, which we'll get to when we create Snarl. But this head needs to go behind his head. Okay, and it also, I think that's really all that we need to do. But there's going to be a lot of complications here that we need to discuss. I've already been doing a lot of thinking about this, and I've already kind of cheated a little bit. I've already started disassembling. I've purchased several from eBay. I've got what, 4 extra now, and I started disassembling it, and I wanted to learn how it really works, kind of seeing how things shift, move up and down. And so that's what I've been working on. A lot of disassembly, figuring out what I'm going to do. So quickly, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna run through everything that I'm gonna change. Alright, so the things that we're going to change here are going to be the following. One, we're going to make sure that his head is behind, his beast head is behind his robot head and turned the other way, so that the mouth is sticking upright, kind of behind his head like this. If you all recall, that's how, you know, Slag's head works. But to do that, what I'm going to do is I also have to think about how he is going to be different than Snarl. So what I want to do is, I don't want to take the head from the front here and move it to the back. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually make this the back of the robot, and then this is going to be the front. Okay, so there's challenges that come along with this. So essentially you got to start picturing with me. Alright, so we're going to fix the neck collar. We're going to move the head up so it's sitting behind his, move the beast head so it's sitting behind his head. We have to, what I'm going to do here is, normally in robot mode, these, you can see here, see the height difference? Normal is here, but I'm going to change, and I think I'm going to keep this height for Snarl, because Snarl is going to be facing this direction with the tail in the back. But for Slag, we're going to keep it, we're going to move it down, so you achieve that just by twisting and turning here, right? So that makes it nice, but the problem now becomes, we got a knee pad, we got a thigh pad here on the inside of the leg, and we don't want that. And also, the way these animated things are designed, the flat of the foot is angled the wrong way, right? So this now has to, this whole, I'm going to put a thigh swivel in here. We're going to turn this whole leg around, at least to the point where we're going to turn it around like pretend like this. Then this, now this piece here becomes the kneecap, okay? Because there's already a built-in joint right there to go sideways for beast mode, but that becomes the new kneecap, so that'll be kind of neat. But then also in this section right here for the foot, I've already taken this apart. This piece right here is joined up with here, and it looks like it should rotate right there at that spot, but it can't. There's actually a rectangular peg in there that is preventing it from turning. So we're just going to shave that down into a circle, and then whoosh, it's going to turn right around. So not only are you going to have the kneecap facing, we're going to be able to turn this direction. So now you're going to be looking, essentially, yes, you're going to be looking at this as the front of the leg, and then the heel will then become the toe. Okay. So here, the heel will then become the toe. So I think that'll be neat. And we're going to shave this off a little bit right in there, that square peg, so that way we'll get more movement out of what will now become the ankle. Alright, yeah, we won't have ankle pivot, so certain people from YouTube, Shartimus, will end up, may not care too much for this if it doesn't have ankle pivot, but that's okay. We don't need it, sorry, the focus here. Okay, so that's going to be a challenge, is making sure the legs are oriented correctly. The next challenge that we're going to have here is obviously the arms, okay? The way the arms are facing, they're facing the wrong way. We're going to do the same thing up here. We're going to either put a bicep swivel here, or we're going to make this a ball joint so that I can just rotate it right around and we can just use the existing elbow. Now the elbow isn't very good, but we can do some shaving here, I think, to give us more movement. That's okay. And then once we get everything turned around, I'm thinking, yeah, the hand should be facing the right direction in that particular case. The next biggest challenge is going to be the following. This right here, okay, this whole tail section, all right, it's normally oriented like this, right? That's how the tail is in beast mode, all right? Well, you got big gaps back here. that we have to figure out how to fill in. Well, my thought process is that I want this section here to come out, down, and back in. And it's going to move down probably about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch to an inch. And by doing that, these pieces here will create, I'm going to create weapon sheaths here. And then these are going to slink down into that cavity. They're going to go right down and in. Sorry, the water's running. Apparently someone's taking a shower or something. Yeah, so that's going to be the biggest challenge that we have to work with here. And one of the biggest challenges. We'll have a ball joint here on the head to turn it around. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to bump that. And I think that's all going to be doable. By this moving down, it'll fill in this lower belly cavity. And then the sides cavity, so that we might have, here, I took this apart here. So you can see how it sits in Beast, and you can see how it sits in Robot. And it goes from nice and flush and clean to a big giant gap. Here's where the peg was, where that tail rotated. We're just going to move it. See, it's got two detents here. So we're going to move it from basically here down to here. It's going to fill in. It's going to just cover. Let me see. This piece right here is where the tail comes in. Okay, so these little sections in here, or these sections in here are going to get shaved away, so you're going to have a U shape, so the tail piece can fit right in behind and then slink back. Anyway, it normally sits here, and then it's going to fold out in order to give us enough room to fold it down, because in Beast mode, we'll do this in Beast mode. So it's going to come out, the tail will swing back. This is going to be shaved away in order to make enough room to clear everything, but not lose the look. So probably this section where it's already stressed, it's probably going to nice clean cut down there. Or maybe make it nice and round for a belly. And yeah, it's going to move from up here to right about there. It's going to start to fill in. I think it'll fill in nicely, I think, the belly area. And then the tail pieces will go down in the hole. And then right here, we might fill these in, whatever the tail doesn't cover, which it'll have to go underneath the hinge here. Because it has to go underneath the hinge, then there's going to be an open section here, which we can figure that out, how it's going to work. No problem. It might end up being a problem, but we'll figure it out. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun to create a new Slag out of an existing snarl Slag. So, okay. So I've already taken this apart, and we can start cutting and doing some different things. Anyway, I'm back now. Hopefully I can go straight through without screwing up too bad, and I hope you enjoy what I have to share with you. Now, I didn't post the previous introduction video to these this custom that I just started on a whim, it's because I realized that it was going to take a lot more than just little 15-minute sessions. It was going to take hours upon hours upon hours upon hours. And I don't know if you guys want that or not. Because I was just finding myself sitting here thinking, just looking at the figure, just looking at it, thinking for 20 minutes, 30 minutes straight. And that's dead silence. I can't talk through that because I have to think through everything. I actually have to stop what I'm doing in the middle of what I'm doing, head upstairs, sit on the couch, hold on to the toy, and just go. That's it. That's all I do, is I just look, and I think, and I move, and I unscrew, I screw them back on, I take it apart, put it back together. I'm constantly thinking about this stuff. So I don't know if that's what you want, and it's going to be hard for me to provide any valuable information out there in custom sessions. Now, if you'd like me to do that, the videos will be very long time, and there will be no cuts. It'll just be straight through, and it'll be, I don't know, an hour long, 2 hours long, 3 hours long, whatever it is. And I just don't know if that's what you want. Now, you can comment below and let me know if that's exactly what you want, or you can let me know after you watch this video to see if this is exactly what you would be looking for in these custom videos. Basically, announcing the start and sharing with you the semi-final product, explaining a little bit what I did along the way. Okay? So, getting started on this again, I'm going to be moving to the phone camera so that we can talk about it. Now, I'll jump back to this camera from time to time, maybe to explain things in a little bit more detail. I'm not going to be doing anything fancy on the green screen boards up here, but I'm going to use these a little differently today, and I think you're going to like it. So, finally, let's get started again. Okay, so the very first figure that I started with here was obviously animated Snarl, or in all reality, it's supposed to be Slag. But I wanted to go ahead and fix the existing Snarl first before moving on to, let me say this, fix the existing Slag first before I moved on to creating the newer characters that don't exist, such as Snarl, the Stegosaurus, and Sludge, the Diplodocus, Brontosaurus, which does or does not exist, or Brachiosaurus, whatever it is, the long-necked one. All right, so I wanted to start with this one. Now, I didn't realize it was going to take this much work to get it to where it needed to be, and I'll explain to you why. But very first things first here, let's take a look at what we have here. Now, the Hasbro release is, of course, on the right, and what I've got here on the left is the current customized version here. Now, hopefully that all gets into focus just okay. This is the custom that I've been working on. It still needs to be cleaned up, still needs to be sanded, maybe some holes and gaps filled in that are not quite done yet. But you're going to see some differences. Most notably here, let's just do a 360 on it. Wherever you see white, that's the new styrene that I've added. These are features that didn't exist now, but now exist for very specific purposes. And I'll talk about that. And you'll notice as well that the visible head syndrome is now gone. And I did that by more than just what you see here, because obviously you can't just cover up what sticks up. So you have to create some height there, which I did, and we'll detail that here in a little bit. Obviously I got him his horn on the front, right? As opposed to this griffin bird beak thing. Again, I'm not going for exact show accuracy with animated custom here. I'm going for, I don't know, G1/Transformers homage using an animated style, if that makes sense. So, all right, so this is what the original Hasbro release, and if you remember, this is what it transforms into. Okay, the head is up front, ugly, sticks out the front of the body, real terrible. The tail, it's going up in a snarl-like fashion. That's not the way Slag is supposed to work. So that has to be fixed. This has to be fixed. The no articulation, the poor joint here that doesn't stick together at all has to be fixed. Bad articulation, there's no movement there, no movement there. So all of that has to be changed, and I'd like to share with you how exactly I made the character more slaggish using an animated style, okay? All right, so I'm going to transform this here and walk you through exactly what I've changed and why. The original, just to kind of give you a heads up, the original front of the robot is now going to be the back of the robot. So this is going to be the front, okay, except, I'm sorry, this is all going to be the front, but it's going to look a lot different than this, okay? All right, so everything that I've done has had a purpose, maybe even a dual purpose, and there's a good reason why. It took a lot of thinking to do. Now, a lot more than I thought it was going to take in order to get this done. All right, so to first start transforming this is right here, you'll notice there's a couple things. One, you've got this sweeping tail section here, which just helps connect the height here to create, you know, a nice look and kind of raise his haunches a little bit. Whereas here, it doesn't look so bad, kind of jutting down a little bit. It actually gives it kind of some character, and I'm okay with that. Based on the extension here to cover up the head from another donator Slag. And I created this shield here like I mentioned before. Just need to clean it up a little bit and get a nice sticker on it, or decal, or just paint it a nice bright color or something. I don't know yet. We'll see about colors and decorations in a little bit. All right, so the first thing what we're going to do here is we're going to take the tail out. All right, and we'll explain what this is later. All right, but it has a couple purposes, so don't worry about it. It's not quite parts forming, because you can transform it with this still attached. You still can, but it's just easier to take them apart. All right, so just like the normal Slag figure at the moment, okay, this is up on a ball joint now, and I'll explain why here in a little bit. But just we'll get these legs up out of the way at the moment, and then we're gonna just start the transformation. Just move these up a little bit because they're on ball joints now. So we'll separate this at the moment, right there. We'll separate it here. Okay, so these are on ball joints right now that I added. I'm going to do this to get them up out of the way at the moment. They serve a couple different purposes. One for dinosaur mode and one for robot mode. Alright, so now I'm going to move this into this kind of pocket right here. To kind of bend it up a little bit, and you'll see how it kind of moves onto the head a little bit. I just need that for the clearance on both sides for this part. Now, this tail, instead of rotating, if you remember the original here, rotates, right, in order to get it to do that open thing. I didn't want that anymore, since this becomes the front of the robot. All right, so right now it's on a double hinge, a very sturdy double hinge that I took from an old Revenge of the Fallen leader Optimus. Now I put a screw in there in order to create stability and strength. This thing is not coming out now. So I had to create a furred section. There's like a thick section, and I got a picture of that to show you, where the screw now goes into, because there was originally a gap in here. There's no longer a gap, so I'll show you that here with a picture. Alright, now the reason why I wanted it on a double hinge and I don't want it to parts form is it needs to move down into position lower to create like a, almost like a belly, if you will. Alright, so these now open up. Alright, I put a little plate here to cover up the screws and also to put like an Autobot logo as well in the future. You can see the sheaths here, the tubes. I kept this open so you can see how that works. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to cover it up or just clean it up. I don't know yet. Alright, but now have this angled a certain way, and then these sections now right there, they fit into these little grooves that I shaved, right there. So now it's fitting in between here, and now it will move into place. But I want to get these legs here, and this is kind of crummy in here, I know, but it is for a purpose, and I will clean this up. I had to put some magnets in here, reinforce the joint so that it will actually hook on. So I'm going to loosen that right there. I'm going to move this down. Look at that. Now they want to stay together. Boop, click. It just goes right into place, and then it doesn't want to come apart as easy. Alright, now I'm going to move the legs down a little bit at the moment. But now this is, it just found its home, right? Gets down into there. I'll get these off to the side, like where they belong. Let's see here, right? Gotta find that. This part's a little, was never, oh, I gotta move that. Gotta move that down. This, let's see, right there. Clicks into the peg into the hole on the side over here. Same thing over here. Gotta find right there. Everything's secure. Now, get these out of the way. Now, these legs here, I wanted them to be longer, so instead of him being short and stubby with no articulation, right, I wanted it to extend his body. So I wanted to utilize this twist, so you can see now how the hip is lower, so that's part of the lowering, right? But now, because of that, this foot is pointed the wrong direction, right? So it needs to be slanted the other direction. So in order to do that, move that out of the way, I took this and rotate it. Now I've got the flat, and then this becomes the toe. Straighten this out right here, right? Straighten that out. All right, but now it doesn't have a knee, right? Well, in order to get the knee, that's where this joint comes in. Rotate right here, and then you got to rotate it again right there, and then this becomes a knee pad. Let's see. Hang on, I must have rotated it the wrong way, because it's supposed to rotate in a clean way with minimal rubbing. That's okay. There's no paint on it at the moment, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. Right there, and then there's your knee joint right there. Fully 90-degree knee joint, because this is the original transformation joint that now becomes the knee, right? And so now he's got hip articulation, he's got knee articulation. Oh crap! He's got the knee, he's got thigh, he's got hip, So he's got all kinds of movement here. All right, so let's do the same thing to the other side. Now this part here, I'm going to explain in a little bit what I did in order to achieve that. There we go. I did it the right way that time. There we go. Getting him stood up. Okay. So now rotate the head. Right? Kind of clean this up a little bit. I still have to shave that down to make it just more of a normal head without the horns, because the horns are going to stay on the dinosaur head. All right. So these little pieces now, okay, click right there. These pieces now rotate around and go over this to cover up, and they kind of match the contour there. Same thing here. Go right there and kind of match the contour. Creates like pectorals, if you will, in that spot. Right? Make sure he's standing. There we go. All right, now the other problem is because now I was facing, since the back of the robot's now the front, these now need to rotate, which I put a mushroom peg in there with some reinforcement, right? So now it rotates forward, got a full elbow. I just swapped the hands out. That was easy, to just take one side to the other. So now they open there. Same thing here. Open, open, twist, right there. Full, pretty close to 90 now on the elbow. So there's that. And now the head, right? Okay, the head, rotate right there on that ball joint. Get this piece into position. I believe it goes up here, right? Clicks down, and then that piece right there. Let's line it up. There we go. Lined up. Now the head, open the mouth right there. Kind of move these. So you'll see the head kind of start to work its way down into that little crevice. And then we'll listen for the click, or actually just push down and it stays right there. And then you have the new Slag in his new robot mode. Now look at that. Look how much taller he is. Right? He looks completely different. He looks like Slag now, in my opinion. Right? Now, this part, the tail, now they are his daggers. And then they fit right in his hands. Just like this. Just like this. And now he has 2 dagger. And now he's got the articulation to cross them if you so desire, or if I so desire. Right there, right? So there's that. I might have to shore up those hands a little bit to make sure that they connect into his hands a little bit better. But anyway, there's that, right? Total difference now. Big thing is having the head up behind him, right? He just cleans up pretty nice now, right? Kind of fill in some of the gap there with his tail piece. Now, like I said earlier, these here, the daggers, can now store, no problem, right in here. Just gotta find it. Let's see. If you want to store them, click them in right there. right there. And then just lower that down. There's 2 grooves here that I've shaved away and polished up. Re-click it down. Let's see, gotta find it. There it is. Now you can angle those out if you want. If you want to have them angled out like that, you can. To kind of splay them out. You can see them in the profile there, or kind of flatten them out. So then he's got his daggers sticking down to the side. Pretty cool, huh? Now, let's go over these legs here. I know they're pretty thick, but there's a reason for it. And I'm going to move to the other camera to explain how I did the legs. All right, so how I did these legs is I know they're kind of thick in that area, and it makes the dinosaur a little wide in that section, but there was no other real way to do it that I could figure out. So let me kind of explain here. I'm going to close that drawer. I'm going to explain here what I did. Now, so the original legs, how they look. There's the center hip section of the robot, and there's a joint that comes out like this, and it did one of these numbers right here, and then here's the leg covering. Okay, here's the pivoting, rotating piece for this whole part to move, and then there was a piece of plastic right here, okay, and then the other joint for the transformation of the lower part of the leg down in this section. You can't even see it, but down in the lower leg there was another joint that took up essentially this whole space. This is just simplifying it quite a bit, okay? And then there was a pivot here, and then there was the leg, and there was no rotation here, and I showed you how it twists now. So I was able to put in a mushroom peg down here, no problem, no issues down there. But here, literally, this section right here and this section right here were right up against this plastic. There was no room to put in anything, and I needed both of these joints. Now, I had the option to shave away this disc or shave away this disc, but the way they're designed is that they have a thick section out here, so kind of a cross section, right? It's like an I-beam, and there's the pivot in here and the screw. The screws go through here. So if I shaved away this, right, it would then make it look really thin, and since that joint is exposed in between these two pieces, there's a piece that goes here and there's a piece that goes here, that screw here, right? So I didn't want them to be exposed with big gaps. So I didn't want to get rid of this. Plus the integrity of the joint, you're ruining that. So what I did is I split it. So I split this joint right through here. So now I split that right through here. Okay, so I separated it. Now, I had to build out a section here. I think I had 4. Nope, 5. I had to go with 5. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Okay, I hope you can see that on the camera. In order to have, there's actually a tiny, and I love these little Lego pieces. Now they come together completely. But there's a Lego piece that comes up, snaps here, actually right here, and then this comes in, and it caps off right here. So right here, this is glued. Right here. This is all glued right there in that section. This is the part that rotates. All right? In order for me to get this up into this section here, all right, so now there's this Lego peg thing. If you plugged it in, it would rotate fine, but then it would kind of fall out, and that can't happen. So in order to make this permanent, I created a dowel rod that fit perfectly into the hole of this Lego piece to the right length. Kind of did kind of like a ball tip on it, and then when I assembled this ball tip, as I pressed this joint in, this whole section moved up, and then it spread out these clips to now you cannot pull it back out, because these clips will no longer come over those pieces of plastic. So hopefully that kind of explains a little bit what I did on the legs. I hope you enjoyed this little section here. I'm going to add some video or some photos, I think, here at the end to show a little bit of my progress, and maybe you can piece it together. I know it's going to be kind of difficult to follow from time to time, excuse me, but it's hard to explain a lot of this and keep the video somewhat short, but I really hope you enjoyed what I've come up with here, and I'm really excited about the next figure that I'm going to do. That's going to be Snarl proper, which is going to be the Stegosaurus. Now I'm kind of thinking I'm going to keep Snarl a little stumpier, a little shorter, kind of in the same vein as the original, to kind of to vary the height in the characters a little bit, because then Sludge is going to be a little bit taller, and then probably going to be very similar, if not same height as Grimlock, just because I'm going to be using the Grimlock mold as the base, but I'm going to be using this Snarl mold as the base for Snarl proper. And now with this one here, considering the tail is already kind of in position, if you will, it's nice, but unfortunately the spikes are going to be facing the wrong direction. So already I've got to figure out what I want to do. I think since I've already figured out how to split this, the tail into the daggers, that was a relatively straightforward process. I could repeat it and then just have these twist and the spikes will face the correct direction. Problem is, it won't have the same, the problem is that it won't have the same, let's say, swooping motion to it, because if there's a joint here that's going to rotate, now this piece here is going to be broken a little bit, and it's going to now look like that. I don't think that's such a big problem, but you'll have to let me know what you think, and ultimately I'll make the final decision, but that's kind of one of the problems I'm going to face right away. And then there's also the problem of the legs again. Do I want to just keep them as is? Do I want these dinosaur feet to be the toes? I kind of like having these black heel things be the toes, like I have on the new Slag here. Sorry, he's kind of, but he's solid now. You know what I mean? I just don't know what I want yet out of the Snarl figure. I don't want to have to go through the whole process of making the legs longer again. That's just, I don't want to do that for Snarl. Plus it'll give him a different look too than Slag. And Slag was, I think, taller anyway. He just felt tougher to me in my own mind. So that is kind of my goal. The head of Snarl is probably going to move back with the plates. The plates are going to come up, probably rotate and come down. Or they'll be on a double hinge and just come down that way. The plates will all be on the back spine like they are on most figures. And I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with a Snarl version of the head. It probably will be bigger and taller. I might not move these. I'll probably have these shoulders be up higher, up here, and maybe peg into something new up top here. The head's in the way. But I'm probably going to do it so that at least his shoulders are more in line with his head and stuff rather than sunk down. Give him a different look. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. It'll clean him up a little bit. So that's the next step, guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and it's probably going to be a little while before another one of those custom update videos happens, because I got to get that other figure moving and done. I do have some unboxings I'd like to do. I've got an entire giant pile of boxes behind me that I haven't even broken into the figures yet because I wanted to do the unboxings. So that's my fault. I guess with that said, it's time for me to go. I hear my son crying, and I'm the only one home at the moment, so parenting.
Go on, go on, go.
This is take 12. I don't know what it is, but I've been trying to get this video done for the last hour and a half, and I cannot seem to win. I keep forgetting to hit the button. The phone keeps filling up with storage. The camera keeps filling up with 395 videos that I hadn't deleted. I was having issues trying to download stuff onto the computer, and it's just been... I don't even know if I'm meant to do this anymore. But I will persevere.